Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies coming at you with another Space Marine tutorial video. You guys go crazy for these. Every time I post one, it gets tons of views, loads of comments. And I always ask in those videos what you would like to see next. The last one I did was, of course, the Death Guard Space Marine, and that one was amazing. Everybody loved it. And one of the frequently commented kind of Space Marines to do next was 1,000 Suns, so a rubric Marine. So that's what we're going to tackle here today. In my head, it was going to be like a speed painting video, but I cannot lie to you guys. I do not think that 1,000 Suns are a quick scheme to paint. The amount of fiddly trim that is on them will slow down the process. But having said that, it may take a little while to paint a miniature, but it does not mean that that miniature is difficult to paint. And I will show you an easy way to paint the miniature, if not so much a quick way. So stick around, guys, and enjoy the video. Okay, I decided to use just a standard rubric Marine carrying one of his warp bolters. I gave the model a coat of Chaos Black spray and then a zenithal of grey Seer as per usual. And then moved on to contrast Ironjawz Yellow as the first bit of paint that I put on. And this is for all of those alternating blue and yellow stripes that tend to appear all over 1,000 Suns miniatures. So starting with the headdress, which is started and went every second line. The reason I'm starting with the yellow is it's at the brightest color. And it means that I'll be more careful moving on to the blue because the blue will stain this quite badly. If I started with the blue and accidentally went to where the yellow is supposed to go, the yellow won't cover those bits. After that, we moved over to Talassar Blue, and this is for the rest of the flat armor panels, and of course, every second line in that kind of striped pattern. Talassar Blue has become one of my mainstay contrast colors. And if it's something you haven't added to your painting arsenal yet, I thoroughly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of blue colors. This is a particularly useful one. As you can see, I'm being a lot more careful here as I do not want the blue to spill over onto any of the yellow sections as it will stain quite badly. It's not going to be too detrimental. We can fix it later on with the layering stage, but the neater you can be now, the easier it will be later on. And then after that, we are just going to fill in all of the other armor panels with Talassar Blue, not being careful with the trim that's going to be gold, because that's going to be gold and it will go over the blue perfectly easily. So you can basically make this stage as quick as possible. Contrasting power armor can sometimes be tricky, but on places like this where all the panels are broken up by so much trim, it's actually exceptionally easy to use contrast on the flat surfaces because there's no really large areas. After that, we're going to move on to Black Templar, and this is for just the soft seals on the armor. So anywhere the two armor parts connect and you see that kind of rubbery, bumpy material, you just put a coat of black contrast in those. Most miniatures have their armor quite close together, so you don't really see it in most of the joints, but usually it's on like the back of the knees and where the kind of hips meet the torso area. Now we moved on to Retributor Armour. Now this was by far the most tedious stage of painting this miniature. I would honestly say it would take me a minimum of half an hour, maybe a little bit less, to trim the entire model with Retributor Armour. As such, if you are planning to do a 1,000 Suns army, I suggest you paint the miniatures in smaller batches. I don't think me personally I could go any more than kind of 3 at a time, maybe even 2 at a time, to get these guys done, as doing the gold trim would just take too much time. Like I said at the start, I would love to have called this video a speed painting video, but because at this particular stage it slowed down the process so much that I don't think I could in good conscience call this a speed painting video. So we're just going to go for how to paint 1,000 Suns in an easy fashion. As you can see, the difference doing the gold trim nice and neatly makes it's actually quite a stellar scheme when you see it all kind of knocked up on a piece. Iron Hand Steel was used for any of the other metallic parts that we missed, so the actual center of the bolt gun clip, the barrel, the stock, and there's not actually that many other pieces on this miniature. It does not have a lot of silver on him at the moment. It's mostly all contained within the bolter itself and a little bit of the vents on the backpack. With that applied, it's time for the shade. And for this, I went for Druchi Violet. Now, some of you might be thinking, Andy, you're wackadoodle. But you've called me wackadoodle for applying shades onto different colors before. Trust me, this is going to work. It's one of the new shades, so it's quite thin. It's going to look beautiful sitting on top of the gold and works perfectly well over the top of the blue. So to coat this entire model with it is absolutely perfect. While the shade is drying, I'm going to do my traditional thing and get this miniature based up. I'm going to go for my normal grey kind of urban scheme, as this is what all my Chaos armies are going to be. So they all match in together and I can use them as one large army if I want to do some Apocalypse games or something down the way. Here's how the shade has dried, and as you can see, I think it looks pretty good. A really good place for the miniature to be for the layering stage. Here's another stage you're going to think I'm kind of wackadoodle for. I'm going to go back to Ironbreaker. I'm going to go to Ironbreaker for the first time. And now I'm going to do a light dry brush pretty much over the entire miniature, which is going to hit some of the blue. That's fine. It's only going to hit some of the raised areas of blue. Those are the bits we're going to be layering anyway. But what this is going to do is highlight all of the gold in about 10 seconds. So you can, if you want to, go in and take your time and layer up the gold with a brush and, like, you know, neat and tidy and all that. But it will add serious amounts of time onto this project, which is already a little bit slow for my liking. So jumping over and doing a stage like this, as you can see, it is highlighting the gold really nicely and super quick. Means that when I'm on the layering stage, I reckon I get this entire miniature layered up in less than 10 minutes. Whereas if I go with a brush and layer up all of the gold beforehand, maybe it would double the time, maybe 20 minutes a miniature. So as you can see, the gold is looking really, really nice now. And you can see the hint of silver on all the blue and stuff. But we are going to go in and layer up that armor now anyway. And for that, we are going to use Thousand Suns Blue. Loads of people tend to ask me in comments, why did I bother doing the contrast if I'm going to be layering it up anyway? The answer is Thousand Suns Blue straight over like a black base coat or whatever wouldn't work. You still always have to build up your colors. That's what base coats are for. So my contrast isn't supposed to be the final coat of paint. It's supposed to be really, really fast and accessible ways to base coat your miniatures so that you can move on and do the layering step and get the model looking pretty clean, pretty fast. There are definitely some schemes where I leave it at the contrast step and you know, they work perfectly fine as well. I like going to this stage on the majority of my schemes because I really do like that clean look we get from spending a little bit of time layering models up. Like I said, I'm not going right in against the gold, so that's still going to be a nice shaded part. And all of those like little creases and little crevices which are going to have these shaded down Talassar Blue, the dry brush of silver will not have gotten in there, so during the layering stage it will have absolutely no effect. So there you go, we've layered up the blue. Gold's looking super clean and so is the blue, so I'm happy so far. We're going to jump over to Grey Seer and we are going to quickly layer up the robes. People kind of scream and say this should be white. I'm saying you can't really differentiate Grey Seer from white if there's no white beside it, if you know what I mean. Your eyes will make it seem like what you want it to be. And Grey Seer is immensely easier to work with and is a little bit more muted, so it's not so gaudy, it's not going to draw your attention too much, which is realistically you want your attention being on the gold and the blue of this miniature. We're now going to use the Averland Sunset base paint yellow and just quickly highlight all of those yellow sections. Once again, another base paint I'm using to layer. They're such strongly pigmented colors that you can get this result in a single coat of paint. And using paints where I can just use a single coat means that once again the process is being speeded up. If you're going in and doing, you know, a base coat, a shade, a layer, an edge highlight on all of these colors, and then you add the trim on top of it, I honestly have no idea how anyone has the time to paint a Thousand Suns army. Using a bit of Ironbreaker now with just a smaller brush, just to highlight that bolter that we did with the silver in the base paint stage. Once again, it's very quick because there's not that many silver parts. We obviously did the vents on the backpack as well. We also did some Grey Seer in the eye lenses when we were on that stage so that we could throw some of that Frostheart contrast into the eyes. I don't know why Thousand Suns miniatures have glowing blue eyes with blue armor. That, to me, that's a contradiction, but I followed the example on the website and this is the result that I got. Added a transfer and I called that miniature a day. This is my finished Thousand Suns Rubric Marine. I quite like the result, just like my Death Guard. I've done 2 Chaos Space Marine Legions in the last 2 weeks and I'm quite enjoying the process. Once again, I would love to get 1,000 points of these guys up and running and see them on the battle report scene sooner rather than later. A quick 360 gives you the final result. I hope you guys did enjoy this one. This was only by popular demand. So if you guys have any other demands of me of what chapter to see next, just put it in the comments below. Okay guys, and there we have it, one rubric marine ready for the tabletop. Once again, quite like the Death Guard miniature, although before the Death Guard video, I already knew that I love Death Guard and wanted to do an army. I wasn't too keen on doing a Thousand Suns army myself, but there's something about completing a miniature and having it in front of you that makes you want to paint more and have an army and see it on the tabletop. So that has maybe wormed its way inside of me, and we'll see what develops from that. If you guys liked the video, make sure you hit the like button below. If you have any questions about anything I did in this video, any other video, make sure you put in the comments and I will get back to each and every one of you guys. And if you want to support me continue to make this channel bigger and greater, there's two very easy ways you can do that. One, make sure you're subscribed. Every single person that hits the subscribe button really does help me out. And if you want to go that extra step, there's links to things like my Patreon below, where you can pledge just a few euros a month, and that will really help me out. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.